Should streaming platforms ban an artist's music if they've been found guilty of a crime? That's the question an article in Variety is asking after R. Kelly was found guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking this week. So, Julie, I want to start with you. Do you think his music should be banned?
So this isn't a one and done answer. When I was thinking about this answer and actually said a prayer about this because cancel culture is real. So I have a couple opinions on this. One, I feel for the artists he wrote for. Whitney Houston, I Look to You, Maxwell, Fortunate, and the rest of artists. It's like, okay, so if you're going to take him down, you got to take his writing down as well. So it's not a one and done situation. I think about Harvey Weinstein. Are we going to take his movies down? Are we going to take awards away from anybody who won awards based on working on the films? I don't care if you did graphic design. So I think we need to take technology, go down to them Silicon Valley dudes and say, we need you to create software that's going to filter the writing versus the songs. You remind me of my Jeep, I want to bump you and hump you. Take that down. Take those. But I believe I can fly. I Look to You, The Preacher's Wife, all this. I think we got to realize that music is still, it's medicine. And he's sick. He's a sick man. And also a talented person. So I think we really need to walk the fine line with this one.
Well, I love everything you're saying. Here's a tweet that we got from Monica who said, music for the beat, not the crimes. If he does make money from royalties, though, we should use that cash to open an anti-sex trafficking foundation to help the victims. # just a thought. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think that's a start. And I do think that is, as Julie mentioned, you've got the Harvey Weinstein example and people always debating, should we watch Woody Allen movies? Should we watch Harvey Weinstein movies? I think the difference between music and movies, as this viewer is pointing out, is that when music is streamed, in theory, the artist still gets the money, where I can, just kind of watch any kind of Harvey Weinstein or Woody Allen movie on a Saturday afternoon on cable, and they don't necessarily get that percentage in the same way that music is.
I have to jump in. I don't think the world knows the business of the entertainment business. These executive producers are making money for the rest of their lives. What I will say is I agree with the victims getting money, but I more so agree with his children getting money. He has four kids. What happens to them?
B, what's your take on this?
Yeah, it's multi-layered and multifaceted because, I mean, personally, I've made that ban for myself in terms of not engaging with his music anymore. And my thoughts on the overall music industry and streaming, it's kind of like you're opening a Pandora's box, because if we start with R. Kelly, there's so many other people that we will have to look at, and not saying that that's not something that should be done, but an industry that's also complicit in the abuse of women, abuse of minors, that people in, positions of power who turn a blind eye to these things, are they necessarily going to want to go down that road now of talking about banning and blocking from streams? And an interesting point about the royalty issue is there's some questions about where his royalty money is actually going, because there are some legal documents that are saying that his royalties are being split between an old landlord that he was renting a studio from, who is owed millions in back pay, and another victim of his who won a civil case, who is receiving funds from his royalties. So there's a question on, are the royalties all actually going to him? Are they going to these different pieces and different people? But like Julie said, then there's other people to think about that need to maintain their lives despite of what he's done, like his children. So it's really layered.
I think it's like the victims, as we were talking about, his family members, but also the people who spoke out from a long time ago, including other artists. There was just an article earlier this week about Sparkle, who is one of the artists who worked with R. Kelly many years ago. One of her family members was one of his victims. She was one of the early critics of R. Kelly, pointing out what was happening. And she was a recording artist, is a recording artist. As she said, my career was demolished. And this is a promising vocalist and songwriter who essentially had all opportunities taken away. So even while we're talking about should you stream R. Kelly's music, we're still centering the conversation on R. Kelly and not on all these other people. So maybe the answer is while you're debating whether or not you should listen to R. Kelly's music, go and find Sparkle's music and and
Support.
support
Right.
those artists.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, Lainey.
It's such a multi-layered thing. Julie, you pointed out some great parts of this because I just think in the arts, we all know it is a collective experience. Even though one person often gets the most maybe credit, it is a collective. So it's like all of the other people, are we assuming that there's a complicitness that they don't deserve some of the pieces of that? And when we think about it, like, I guess the Pandora's box bee that you were referring to is like, how far back do we go? Because if you start peeling back like the history of music or the history of film, there's been a lot of terrible people.
Well, not only that, art, like
Exactly.
artists. Like, think about artists from the
Yes.
1700s who, like the protocol during that time.
maybe
Like, what are you
the
gonna
answer-
slash the
And
canvas?
Yeah,
I want to say
exactly.
one thing, though. I want to say one thing before we go. Are we listening to Headley?
It's a great question. I feel like that music has been swiped from the Canadian airwaves for now. But that is a complicated and a whole other part of this conversation.
There's a whole other race issue, but I know there's more to talk about. And yeah.